views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey, everybody, welcome. I want to welcome you. Thanks for tuning us in and turning us on. I'm Dr. Pat. What a glorious day it is. Yep, it's just another day in the hood. But today is the day where we get to talk about some very, very cool things. I'm so thrilled. My friend and colleague is joining me here today, Dr. Dan Cohen, a neurologist, inventor, and author. But what is he inventing? Well, if you can think about taking your life experience, then taking, the studies you've done, your education, then taking your creativity, then taking this energy and vibration of the world and putting it together and calling it spirituality. When you put that all together, great things happen. And that's what Dr. Dan Cohen has done. He has put it all together. You've heard us talk before about the Soul Tech Lounge, and of course, that is phenomenal. But today, our conversation is related to this absolutely interesting question. Are people more interested in stress reduction or spirituality? That's the question. Stress, stress, stress. But what is the relationship between each of these? And many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Are we putting our time and energy in one direction when we could be putting it in another that would help us out amazingly? Dr. Dan, great to have you join me. What a great topic. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Pat. Very nice to be here.
Yeah, let's talk about stress. Somebody said to me, there's this show out that's called Orange is the New Black, but there's this also saying now that's developing called that is crazy is the new normal. And, I don't even want to imagine that crazy becomes the new normal. And what they're talking about is a number of different things that are not just happening in the world, but also the speed by which each of us is being asked to keep up. Hence, when we cannot, we get stressed out. So let's talk about stress, what it is, and is it important for us to understand the impact it has on our level of connection to whatever we believe, our higher power and spirituality?
Exactly. And I think it is really important to understand that when you are stressed, you do become disconnected. Mm-hmm. Because stress, I think we all know what stress feels like because so many of us experience it every day. And unfortunately, many people experience it so commonly that they don't know any different. So they live in a state of chronic stress, which then produces a host of illnesses. But the fact of life is stress is a brain phenomenon that then generalizes and affects the rest of the body. Because it's you worried about things, you not being in control, you, for whatever reason, experiencing what we would call in medicine fight or flight. The fight or flight response as opposed to, being relaxed and and resting. And so it's the sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system that gets fired up, and your pulse rate goes up, your respiratory rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, and guess what? I mean, that does not bode well for one's health when it becomes chronic. And unfortunately, we live in a society now where I would say at least half the people are chronically stressed. Generally, studies report that, 75 to 90% of people complain of excessive stress in their lives. So those that aren't stressed are the rare few these days.
Well, are we redefining stress, though, in our society? I mean, it used to be stress was defined, in a way where we can pinpoint or could pinpoint, what our capacity was. Are we expected to manage a level of stress that is becoming the new normal? And what is the impact of that on our body and on our psyche?
Well, I think you're making a good point, and I think that is the truth. I think that our society is putting such a level of pressure on us to perform in so many different ways that most people, I shouldn't say most, but many, many people cannot cope effectively with that. I mean, and this is why I think when you look at addiction rates and how they've climbed over the years, this has been the outcome. Why are people forced into those modes? And so we have so many people in alcohol and drug treatment centers repeatedly, and some of that is because some of those methodologies have become less effective over the years, but also some of it is because we live in a world of chronic stress. So even if they are effectively treated, they go back into this world, and it pushes them back into their coping strategies of drug and alcohol.
Yeah. And can I ask you a question? What it kind of reminds me of is, an old story that was shared with me many years ago. You and I both know if we have a major impact in our lives, and I've had them and you've had them, but a major impact, something that happens suddenly, you lose a job, you lose a loved one. Something drastically changes in your life. Even a car accident can have a severe impact. Those things are startling. They're shocking. And so the world talks about them as being stressful, but then that's the story of the frog. It's like if you put a frog into boiling water, that frog is going to jump itself right out of that water. It's not going to let itself stay in there and cook. But it's the other story that I'm interested in talking about as well. And that is, the cold water that you slowly turn up. And none of us can feel the fact that things are heating up, and before we know it, we are in boiling water. And so can you talk about that? Because I don't think, Dan, that we can figure out if that's what's going on, that we have had an impact on spirituality in our lives.
Yeah, well, I think the situation that you described with the water slowly coming to a boil so that the frog doesn't jump out because it doesn't recognize the change, I think that's the common scenario. And it's very unfortunate because people all of a sudden get trapped and they realize too late that they've exceeded their coping thresholds, and then they run into all sorts of troubles. So that is the big problem. And because they slowly get worse and worse and worse and worse, and they don't recognize the change, you're absolutely correct in that their spirituality gets cut out of the equation. And we probably need to go into that aspect a little bit deeper because it's, and this is coming from a neurologist. So really take heart here because, I'm a guy who loves the brain, but I'm telling you that chronic stress is something that really is a brain-induced phenomenon. And we all have to be much more cognizant of our heart-centeredness. That's the key here. And with stress becoming more and more chronic, we become more and more head-based or brain-based and less heart-centered.
So the question that I think that it is really for all of us is, okay, so that's what's happening, but it's always the question of, so what? What does that mean, and what is the impact? And for many people that might be listening, you have a sense that there's an impact, but there really is an impact. And tell us a bit from what you've seen working with people, but also how this affects us in ways that we cannot see until we can see them.
Well, I think that, obviously with chronic stress, you can end up with a host of health problems. I mean, I think everybody understands that. Mm-hmm. I think that the subtle change that people don't realize is happening is that we become so much more based in our heads and thoughts. And as a result, we lose our feeling nature to a certain extent. Okay? And that is the big step in closing oneself off. It's really about feeling. And this is also very interesting from a gender perspective, because women are much better at feeling nature, at maintaining a higher level of feeling than men are. Men are very quick to go to their heads. And so men succumb to stress through these mechanisms and perpetuate it by maintaining what they're already used to. And that is thinking and being head-centric and using a host of coping strategies that relate to, thought processes. Whereas women, I think, they can be the saviors here because they're the ones that have overall a greater tendency to go back to their feeling nature and really recover from that perspective. And that's what all of us, every one of us needs to do. But I think women have an advantage there because in our culture, women are growing up allowed to feel more than men, at least in our generation. And but I think that's changing now. I think children now are encouraged to feel more, whether they're male or female. But in the adult world right now, we still have a predominance of, women are allowed to feel more than men. And it's unfortunate because we all should be encouraged to feel so much more.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this when we come back, because we're seeing this play out in our politics right now. What we're seeing play out in our politics, and, believe me, I've reached out to, the people in my state. What we're seeing played out is the women becoming the spokespersons or the spokespeople. And we're not only seeing it play out on both parties that are out there, but we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing women that are in law, that are the lawmakers that went and marched in the Women's March. We're seeing the Women's March. But on the flip side of it, what became interesting is we're seeing men take some seriously logical action. So it's fascinating to me, especially in Washington State now, how that's playing out. But when we come back, can we blend these feminine and masculine energy? And how do we then discover our spirituality in the process? Stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back. We're going to talk about the Soul Tech Lounge and much more.
The 25th Annual Women of Wisdom Conference, Remember Who You Are, Honoring Ourselves, We Heal the World, is this February 16th through the 20th. WOW is calling for women to gather. This is the time for women to step into our power, support each other, share our stories, empower our dreams, and build leaders for our community and the next generation of women. Join us for life-changing, intimate workshops on diverse topics such as music, dance, art, sexuality, relationships, healing, goddess wisdom, life purpose, and more. Join us and be witnessed, valued, and inspired to discover your purpose and share your stories. WOW is one of the longest-running women's spirituality conferences in the world. You can register for individual events or enjoy the whole weekend. This February 16th through the 20th. Visit womenofwisdom.org.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
Is traditional medicine not working for you? Do you still feel as if your health isn't 100%? Here at the Holistic Medical Center, Dr. Nushin Darvish and the qualified staff look through the dimensions of wellness and start a healing plan prioritized to your needs. Our physicians assess the whole you until complete health is achieved. Get the help you need by visiting drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
When your body is awakened, your spirit comes alive. Dana Canetto is a transformational guide, embodiment coach, and spiritual mentor assisting women in realigning with their truth and embodying who they are by connecting to the wisdom of their body. Tune in every month on Transformation Talk Radio and the Dr. Pat Show Network for Body Divinity Radio with Dana Canetto. For more information on Dana and her services, visit DanaCanetto.com. That's DanaCanneto.com.
How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit maryjanemack.com.
Okay, Benny, you got to tell me who that is. Is that Rihanna?
No, that is Rapture.
Is that?
Rapture, I.O.
Rapture.
By I.O. I think it's I.O.
Sweet. Thank you, Benny.
Sure.
Wow, that gets me a little fired up right now. And so does Dr. Dan Cohen. You know, Dan, before we jump in here and we get fired up here and talk about spirituality and talk about the chair, I want to talk with you a little bit about how people can find out what we're talking about and, you know, why the work that you're doing and the impact of the chair is now taking hold big time. You know, people are so wanting to connect. How can people find out more about the chair or talk to you directly?
Well, the easiest way is to go to soultechlounge.com.
Mm-hmm.
If they just, and they can find us, and there's a phone number there that they can contact or an email, and I can get in touch with them if they request that. I'd be happy to.
Okay. So, look, we're talking about a lot of things, but I'm very, very clear about what I've learned in using the chair. And we're not talking about a chair. We're talking about a unique technology that is scientifically driven, but I believe exponentially spiritually conceptualized. And, you know, this whole idea about what you've developed is to help us discover and manifest. So let's take this down to the discovering of our spirituality. But most importantly, I don't know about you, Dan, I have not in 14 years doing this show, I have not talked to a single person, close to 8,000 conversations, that has said, Pat, people can manifest the dreams of their life in a stressful state of mind. No one has ever said that. I hope you're not going to be the one that says that. Because we can't manifest anything but more stress.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's an impossibility, because when you stress, what you're dealing with at that point is it's the worst case scenario from your ego. I mean, it's literally you've lost the connection, and you're totally head centered, and you're basically manifesting your coping strategies. You're triggered. It's all the things that you're trying to defend against. It's not a proactive, spiritual approach. It's really the negativity of one's egoic mind.
But we are talking about today discovering our spirituality and what we have to do to go through that process. And one of the things that I've learned is, if I am stressed, I can sit and attempt to pray till I'm green, but they are going to be foxhole prayers. They're not going to be prayers of gratitude and blessing. And I may be able to fake it till I make it, but that is not what you've discovered. That's not what the science is here that we're talking about. So what do we need to do in order to develop greater spirituality? Because it is that spiritual state that helps us. I was listening to Joel Osteen, I think it was this morning, and, this is what you call a positive pastor. People in the community of Christianity look at this guy and they say, dude, you smile way too much. What is your dental bill? And yet he is somebody that has said there has got to be a different energy and vibration, but he doesn't say that there is this one way to do it. You've got to be connected. That's my question to you. What can you tell us, help us with, so that we get connected to begin the process?
Well, surprisingly, it's not that hard. But no, it really isn't. It seems hard because I think a lot of people have funky ideas about what spirituality is.
I know, it's funky town. I'm telling you, it's a funky town. Right, but that's why I said, it doesn't have to be. So what did you learn on the way?
It shouldn't be. I mean, spirituality is all about authenticity. So as a ground rule, keep everything real. And so if you just simply go back to how you feel in the moment, that's where you're at. And it doesn't matter. Don't judge it good or bad. It's where you're at. And you start from there. Okay? That's the beginning place. And if you're not starting from there, all you're doing is faking. Okay? You're not going anywhere because you're not being honest. I mean, the core tenet of spirituality is love and truth. And so you if you're not starting from that vantage point, you're going to end up in the wrong place. So
well, I need an example. I need for us to get to a very specific example, because I know what you mean, but I don't know that our listeners knows what you mean. So let's use a very specific example, because you are really on the edge of the major roadblock to manifesting anything we want in life.
I think if you think about how you feel in any situation and move from the head, okay, because your head's going to have thoughts and judgments about it, and say, this is not the place that I feel from. I feel from my heart. I feel from my gut. Okay, let me feel in those areas, and whatever happens is okay. And so if you're going to feel sadness and you're going to grieve and you're going to cry, fine. That's great. That's real. And a lot of us need to be there.
Yeah.
And that's okay. If you don't start there and start clearing those emotions and start understanding why you feel that way, you're never going to get any better. Why should you? Why would anybody expect themselves to get better without starting out and being real? Remember, everything starts with truth and love and love of self so that you can get down and say, how do I feel? How do I truly feel? Don't worry about what it represents. Don't worry about any associated thoughts. It's just start with the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this. Sometimes we cannot express our feelings in the presence of another. That is very common in the culture in the United States. Now, I'm Italian. That is not common in Italy and also, in my South American roots, okay? I'm a really interesting mix. But I got these two fiery cultures, right? It is not common for us not to express. But we are not the norm, right? And even in those two cultures, Dr. Dan, we were very, very good at expressing things that were allowed to express. But even in those cultures, there were some things not to express. So you're talking about a level of honesty with ourselves.
Yes.
We got to get honest with ourselves.
Well, it all begins there. If you can't be honest with yourself, I can tell you, you're not going to be honest with other people.
No.
So you have to start there, and you just do what's comfortable for you. I mean, I don't care if you close yourself in a closet and sit and cry or scream or whatever, but, you have to get grounded in you. And then, depending on, what your predilection is, if you like to talk to yourself. If you like to write, start writing. But get to the depth of your own feelings first.
Yeah.
Really understand that and be true to those feelings and to yourself. It all starts there.
And I want to talk about this too, because part of this is not judging ourselves for how we express. And, as a child, my only escape from what was going on at ages 4 and 5 was the fire escape. I used to sleep outdoors on the fire escape because I had a mother that was an addict and an alcoholic who was sick. Now, I knew that growing up later, but that was my escape. To this day, I still need to be in places like that to feel a sense of freedom. When we come back from break, Dr. Dan is going to take us on a journey that says stress. Talk about it, think about it, feel about it, but what the heck can we do about it? Dr. Dan Cohen in the house. We'll be right back.
Bree Gibbs is a 4th-generation high priestess with the knowledge to raise your vibration and conscious creation. Offering a wide variety of services from goddess light and shamanic healing seminars to private reading sessions, Bree works with you so you too can stand in your own power. Isn't it about time you took your life into your own hands? For more information about Bree's services and products, visit silvergaia.com. That's silvergaia.com.
A word of caution, if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com.
Hi, this is Leslie Fontaine, and my show is Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com. When we're bogged down with our emotions, the hardships that plague us in our relationships, at work, our finances, we literally can't see the higher plane where we could be operating from. Tune in to Leslie Fontaine, Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Tune in to Dynamics of Diversity Radio, scripting the new narrative for immigration with leading experts Kripa Upadhyaya and Steve Tanijo on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This show will remove the noise that often accompanies discussions on this topic and share a new perspective on the dynamics of immigration and diversity, ever reminding us that together we are all at the core of innovation, excellence, and positive change. Visit OrbitLawPLLC.com for upcoming topics. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show, Talk Radio to Thrive By. I am so thrilled to be talking to all of you. We have got talk radio for all of us. Are you ready and willing and able to accept all of the abundance you can muster up in your life? Check us out at drpatshow.com, transformationtalkradio.com, transformationradio.fm. Oh my goodness.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Dr. Dan Cohen is in the house, and we are talking about what do you do stressed out, burned out. You cannot get any of your spark plugs fired up, but we have a solution. Before we jump ahead, Dr. Dan, what is the best way for people to find out more about you? And also, we're going to be talking about the chair here. How can they find out about the Soul Tech Lounge?
Well, the Soul Tech Lounge is easiest to just go to the website. That's soultechlounge.com. So it's SOLTEC lounge.com. And they can find out a little bit about me there, or, I think probably if they really want to find out about all my secrets, read the book Addicted to My Ego.
Awesome. Okay. Here's the thing. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the time go away, stressed out in our lives, not knowing what to do. But what role does spirituality play in helping us? And why the heck is Pastor Joel Osteen so dang happy? What's the relationship between spirituality and stress, and what's it going to take for us to understand it?
Ultimately, spirituality is the antidote. Okay, flat out. I mean, that's the antidote. But again, as I said earlier, I think most people, when they think about spirituality, they think about somebody sitting in a lotus position on a mountaintop in a state of bliss, and nobody can relate to that. I mean, it's like totally out of touch with the way things truly are. And not that you can't get there, but let's face it. You're not going to start meditating and all of a sudden become a guru. All right, those people take decades of practice. Mm-hmm. The key, I think, and what I've learned over the past several decades is that the first stop is to move from head to heart. Okay, it's start feeling. That's the key. And with the work we've done, with the Soul Tech Lounge, what we realized was we could figure out a way using music and vibration to turn off the brain. So we could get people out of their heads. And then at the same time, we also learned, after a lot of experimentation and working with some gifted individuals who could perceive these kinds of things, we also learned how to directly stimulate one's energy system, which most people would associate with a person's spirituality. And in that way, we were able to, with the dual stimuli, synchronous sound, vibration, and magnetic fields, we were able to better integrate a person's energy system or spirituality with the nervous system. And that's why the Soul Tech Lounge has been so successful, because people can immediately feel the difference. And so it puts them into a feeling state that is stress-free and exceedingly calm. And with regular use, it allows people to learn what that state feels like so that they can more easily replicate it. I mean, that's the absolute key. But again, you can't, if you don't take out into life that open-heartedness, that heart-centeredness, you're just going to revert back to the old ways over time. And so again, my message is feel. And as a thinking man's neurologist, that's the way I used to be, I would say, don't go there. Go to your heart and feel.
Yeah. I mean, we have to really give ourselves some relief. There are things that we know about the heart. And, the heart really holds the stress that we carry, the stress that we see in the world, or the stress that we see, in our personal lives. It really does carry it. And, I think about how often we talk about or say, our hearts are so heavy, our hearts are so heavy. But let's talk for a minute about if we make this shift, if we can put spirituality first. How does spirituality manifest, but how does it help us manifest amazing lives?
Yeah, and it does. And I think it's really about our connection. I mean, in the end, all that really is important is about how we interact with one another. Because if you really get deep into spirituality, you realize, in truth, we are all one and the same. So there is really no difference. So for me to do something negative towards somebody else is really doing it to myself. It's just not understanding my self-identity very well. See, that's, most of us are confused about what we truly are. And as a result, we look in the mirror, we see a face and we see a body, and we assign that image to what we think we are. And I think many of us realize that's not what we are. But again, unless you can experience that, it's hard to realize that indeed that's the truth. And so most of us end up being self-identified with our body and our egos and not what we truly are. Okay? On the other hand, if you work from a feeling nature and you really, make it a point to try to live from the heart and really not only feel yourself, but feel other people, okay, and be compassionate and work from that standpoint where you try to relate at a feeling nature, then things can really start to change. In other words, I think oftentimes we'll greet one another and we'll say, hey, how are you doing? Or how do you feel? And then somebody will say something, but you're not even listening. Okay? So if you really ask the question, how do you feel? Stop, look in their eyes, and get an answer. And then ask them more questions about that. And ask how they really feel. You'll have an entirely different conversation. Okay? I'm sure you've experienced that many times, Pat. Where
totally.
Right. And that's what being a human is really all about. It's relating at that level because that's where we need to be.
Yeah. What are the things, Dr. Dan, have you come across, the people you've worked with? I would love for folks to have a sense of, people that have said, yes, I am going to increase my spiritual practice, my nature. I am going to do that. And I know in the next segment, we're going to talk about how we go about that. But what have you seen change in people? I know you and I did a show on, how this has changed in the recovery space and how people with addictions are able to move, beyond those addictions for good. But there are other things, other folks you've worked with, especially around, how spirituality and how reducing stress helps our health and well-being.
Yeah, again, so many people with chronic stress end up manifesting physical problems. And so it's very common and it's very unfortunate. And so I've worked with a number of people who, when they learn to de-stress, and again, learning to do that is learning what it feels like to not be stressed. I mean, that's the key. We as human beings are very, very good at mimicking a feeling state that we understand, that we recognize in ourselves. Okay? So if I move into a relaxed state and excuse me, and I pay attention to what that relaxed state feels like throughout my body, then I will get accomplished at being able to recreate that feeling state of relaxation. And so as I do that more and more and go deeper and deeper into a more relaxed state, then I can put myself into that state more easily and more deeply as time goes on. And once one learns how to do that, if they were, subject to chronic stress, then they will reverse that situation, and then any health malady that was secondary to that chronic stress will tend to clear up. I mean, in the vast majority of those cases. And so I've witnessed that time and time again working with people where once again they learn how to feel relaxed and what that state feels like, they can recreate it when they recognize that they've moved outside of that relaxed state.
Wow. Let's take a short break. Dr. Dan Cohen's in the house. When we come back, how does one enhance one's spirituality? And prayer. What is prayer? What did I mean by foxhole prayers before? Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
Artie Hoffman is the hottest psychic with the warmest heart and the host of the hit show Angels and Answers. A renowned psychic, medium, spiritual life coach, and an entertaining motivational speaker, Artie has helped over 15,000 people with his amazing intuitive gifts, his passion, and his humor. Call 877-ANGEL-02 to schedule a personal reading or to have your own psychic Artie party. That's 877-ANGEL-02. And visit ArtieHoffman.com and Angels and Answers on Facebook.
This is Sarah Luce from Small Steps Big Breakthrough Radio. I want to invite you to join me and women across the globe for my Sister Spirit Party, where we're going to be teaching you how to lose those limiting beliefs, toss the struggles, lose all the old stories that keep you stuck so that you can leap fully into your power in 2017. Girl, the world needs you to shine right now. So please join us for this powerful and fun group mentoring called Sister Spirit Party. And now, till February 10th, I'm going to give you $50 off your enrollment. So go to sarahluce.com and enter your coupon code SISTER50 for your enrollment discount. Girl, we need you to shine. Join us. Join the Sister Spirit Party. Let's get your power on.
Be unstoppable. Who do executive women count on for up-to-date information on everything from stilettos to being heard in the boardroom? To achieve excellence, you must first take control of your life and develop a successful strategy with the Unstoppable Diva. Tune in to Up or Out with Connie Fife, Mondays 5 p.m. Eastern, as she cuts through the BS to guide you to become bold, connected, and unstoppable. For more information, visit uporout.com.
Beyond being this amazing neurologist, inventor, author, Dr. Dan Cohen has been called to look at technology and look at personal and spiritual development and merge these together. His technology uses the healing and psychospiritual effects of synchronized sounds, vibrations, electromagnetic fields, and how that interacts with us in our nervous system in what we're calling the Soltec chair.
The Soltec Lounge induces profound levels of relaxation that transition over time into deep meditative states. The synchronized sound, vibration, and magnetic field induce these states. The subject doesn't have to work at it.
To learn more, go to soltecwellbeing.com. That's SOLTEC Wellbeing.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Benny, for that. And how often have many of us decided we need to not just ride like the wind, but we need to get the bleep out of town, fight or flight. That is a simple concept, but it's one that gets played out over and over and over and over again. And if those of you haven't seen the Melissa McCarthy ad, and watched her run or try to escape the rhino, you will know that sometimes we just cannot escape ourselves. Dr. Dan Cohen's in the house. We're talking today about something very, very important. At least this has been important to me. Are people more interested in stress reduction or spirituality? And, part of my life has been about stress reduction. But today, the space that I live, regardless of what shows up on my doorstep, has got to be spirituality, but I've needed some help. Dr. Dan, thank you for the show today. Here we are, and you asked me a question about prayer, which I thought was so important. But that's what this segment's about. How do we enhance our spirituality? What do we do? How do we do it? And what can technology do to help us?
Well, there's a lot of questions right there.
Totally a lot.
Now you got me stressed out. But, yeah, essentially, I think if you go to the basics, and you mentioned prayer, I think prayer is a really good starting point, because a lot of people pray for specific things, but wouldn't it be nice if we started with understanding? If we just started and asked for help in understanding where we were at and why we were where we were at. I think if we could understand those things at a deep level in terms of how it makes us feel, what occurred to make us feel in those ways, how did we respond when we felt those ways, I think that would do an awful lot. I mean, when people, stop and consider why did this fight happen, or why did they get divorced, or why did they have this business failure, and they really stop and they honestly look at these kinds of things, the information is right there and it comes to them. So I think the first step in prayer is to determine what is it you want, in terms of an understanding, so that you can get it and then move on, either remedy the situation or just put it to rest and then move to the next chapter in your life. So I think from a prayer standpoint, that's really key. I think from a spirituality versus a stress reduction, axis, I actually think they're just two sides of the same coin. If you're not acting from your spiritual self, if you're not being authentic the opposite. These are opposites. Okay? And therefore, moving from stress to greater spirituality, which for me is greater authenticity, it's honesty, it's essentially truth and love. If you aren't grounded in those domains, or at least a willingness to be honest with yourself, the answers will not come because you're going to block them. Because you're too busy being in your mind. I mean, the reason you're stressed is you're essentially, your coping strategies have been triggered, and in that situation, you are not honest. Okay? You're in defensive mode. Okay? You're not being honest with yourself. And so you have to drop back first and foremost, be honest with yourself, and be willing to see everything that has happened very clearly and see yourself very clearly and understand what that feels like. Because that is the core level. And you start from there. And you asked about technology. Our technology addresses this in that it helps you be in that state where all of this can be recognized much more easily. But it will, the flip side is it'll put you in that state, and you will then see how you have been, how you are, and then it's up to you to then, continue to be, honest with yourself, and then make amends or make changes in your life so that you can, really manifest what you truly are.
Yeah. I think we all have a sense of what we want to do, who we want to become. I know we've got a few minutes left, and I would love for you to talk about the technology that can play a role to help us.
Yeah, well, we developed this technology for a couple of reasons. One is we saw 20 years ago, we saw that, the world was getting more and more stressed, and we needed to do something about it. And quite honestly, as a physician, I thought it was really hard to teach people how to meditate. And even with the biofeedback techniques, there were so many people that I saw that were very difficult to teach either meditation or biofeedback techniques. And so we set out to create a technology that would literally induce these states so that the user didn't have to learn something. All they had to do was lie there and be exposed to the music and the vibration and the magnetic field, and it would put people into the state that they needed to be in, and then they could learn once they were in that state what it felt like and what it was like, so that they could then learn to easily replicate that state in regular life. And with more and more sessions using our technology, the Soltec Lounge, people were able to then say, oh, I can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then I learn now what it feels like to be even at these greater states of relaxation and being stress-free. And over time, what we then learned was, wait a second, this is not just putting people in a stress-free state. This is also enhancing their spirituality, because then other gifts started to emerge. And then it became an awful lot of fun for us, because that was one of our other goals. And quite honestly, we never thought we would get there. I never thought we would be able to develop a technology that could actually help us manifest our spirituality to a greater extent. I was blown away myself as we started to see that happen, and it's been great. I mean, I'm still a daily user. We have a group that meets every morning at 8 a.m. And we do our hour-long session, and we continue to advance. And for us, we've moved far beyond stress. So stress is a word we rarely encounter in our dialogue. It's just to the degree of spirituality, and I'm going to substitute another word that people can relate to better. It's love. Ultimately, that's what it is. It's feeling that love for yourself and others. And that's I think, should be our normal state of being. And when I go outside of my house and I interact with, anybody in the store or this or that, but unfortunately, it's not what I'm seeing.
Wow. I mean, for most of us, there are ways we can make a change. I would love for you to let people know one more time, Dr. Dan, how they can find out more about you and how they can find out how to make a change for themselves.
Well, I think the easiest thing is soltechlounge.com, SOLTECLOUNGE, soltechlounge.com. And, from there they can find out, about me as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Dan Cohen, everybody. And more to come. We're going to take a short break. Be right back.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.